Saddam Hussein, on his first week as president, decided to pull the trigger. 68 names were called out, of comrades who opposed his rise to power. Quote, "You know what will happen with the traitors? Nothing except the sword." Unquote. Those were his words. They would either be executed or spend the rest of their days between torture and hope for a quick ending. This day was the Baa'th Party purge. Let's get into the details. Silence takes over. Recording starts. Death might come your way, only if you hear your name. 6 days after claiming the presidency of Iraq, Saddam Hussein decided to start his reign with blood by inviting members of the Baa'th Party to a conference, but some of them didn't make it back home. In a live recorded action, names are being called out of people accused of taking part in a conspiracy against Saddam. Instead of going the straightforward way by arresting them and putting them to trial, he decided, no, they need to feel it and they need to see it coming. They need to live minutes of fear of the unknown. Once you hear your name, time stops and your heart starts a countdown to the end, like a church bell, loud and shaking your nerves with every beat. You can't run, you can't hide. No time to regret, no time to reflect, and no time to ask for forgiveness. A massacre that no one saw coming. But first, who is Saddam Hussein? Let's try to highlight some of the important events of his life in a minute or less. He is a man who is hungry for power. Born in April 1937 in central Iraq. From a young age, he was very politically active. In 1959, he took part in an ambush that targeted Iraq's military leader at the time, Abdul Karim Qasim. During the ambush, Saddam got wounded and he escaped Iraq to live between Egypt and Syria for 4 years. In 1968, he participated in a successful coup to overthrow Abdurrahman Arif, the president at the time, and as a result, he became a deputy under Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr, his cousin. He became Iraq's second leader through this position. In 1979, he forced Bakr to step down and took his place as the president of Iraq, an expected move. In 1990, he invaded Kuwait, a very unexpected move. In 1996, he ordered the killing of his 2 sons-in-law, another very unexpected move. Clearly, he had a thing for people who didn't seem loyal to him. Captured by the US in 2003, and then got executed in 2006. Now, back to our purge, or the Baa'th Party purge. Saddam Hussein, with a list in one hand and a cigar in the other, after he talked about the comrades who didn't have his back, the conspiracy against him and the lack of support from some of the members of the Baa'th Party, he started calling names, and he said, quote, "Whoever hears his name should say the party's slogan and leave the hall," unquote. When the name is called, the person either goes out of the hall by himself or is escorted by guards to death or life in prison. 68 names were called by the president of Iraq. Minutes are passing. The members of the party don't know what will happen to these names, or when will the list end, and if their name is next. It's terrifying. Close your eyes with me, and I want you to imagine one of the comrades. His story is simple. He wakes up in the morning, takes a good shower, as if he is getting clean to meet his fate. Puts on his nicest suit, and the tie doesn't bother his neck. He drinks his coffee, his stomach doesn't hurt. Says goodbye to his family for the last time he will see them. But he didn't know anything. He takes his car, maybe puts some music to accompany him, parks the car and walks to the hall, in confidence. Takes his seat, relaxingly, and then starts to witness Saddam, angry and not in a good mood. Then the calling of the name starts, one person after the other. The comrade starts to tremble. His right leg cannot stop shaking. He starts to make his tie loose, to give space to the sweat. One name after the other, Our comrade can't breathe anymore. He's thinking of leaving, but there's no way out. With every letter that comes out of Saddam's mouth, the man dies of fear. But he has hope. Until one moment, he hears his name. He hopes no one hears it. No one sees him. He looks around and hears Saddam telling him to go out. He forces his leg to move. He's walking out, but seeing pictures of his wife and kids passing in front of his eyes. He will never see them again. One last hug is what he's asking for, but he gets nothing else than a slow or quick death. Weirdly, after finishing off with the list, Saddam showed some emotions and he shed tears over the comrades who betrayed him. And as a result, some of the members started shedding tears as well. Otherwise, you might be mistaken for a non-loyal member. Around Saddam, one wrong move might cost you your life. His reign was about spreading fear and using torture and violence against anyone who opposed him. Mass executions and forced disappearances were some examples. Quote, "Long live the people and death to their enemies," unquote, was one of his last famous words after being sentenced to death. Saddam ruled for about 30 years. He started with the blood of others and ended with his own blood. And so, the Baa'th Party purge stands as a turning point in Saddam's terrifying reign as president. He was able, after this day, to spread fear all over the country. The people were afraid to even discuss politics, as Saddam had ears and eyes everywhere. This day will forever live as one of the most important and sad days in the history of Iraq.